Welcome to another Kundalini After Dark session. I'm your host, Brent Spirit, here tonight with a very special co-host, the founder of the Kundalini Hub, the KundaliniHub.com, Hugo Riquelme. Hugo, welcome. Thanks for joining us here tonight.
Oh, thank you, Brent. It's a pleasure. And yeah, thank you so much for having me here. And thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for offering to co-host tonight. We're talking
Mm,
tonight about the Kundalini awakening process, of course, and when it all falls apart. When we feel like we're on the cross, being crucified. Some might call it the dark night of the soul. It's a pretty heavy theme, but tonight we'll offer some hope, some encouragement, and some company to those that may be able to relate with some of these themes. We'll get
mm,
Hugo to share a message for us, and we'll open the floor up for others to share, relate, ask questions, respond to questions, vent, celebrate, share resources. That's what Kundalini After Dark is all about. We come together to keep each other company as we go through this process. So, thank you all so much for tuning in. In the Zoom room, we've got about 20 people here. We've got a few tuning in on YouTube as well. Thank you all so much. If you're listening to the recording in the archive and you'd like to join us for the next Kundalini After Dark session live, you can visit brentspirit.com/after dark to register. These events are free to join. As well, we've got Hugo's new project, the KundaliniHub.com, which is an online community created to, of course, offer support and connection for those going through this process, specifically for those on Hugo's part of the world, down under in Australia. But of course, everyone's welcome to join. But the timings of his events and meetings and chances to connect will be, of course, more appropriate for those on that side of the world. So you can keep that in mind. But of course, sometimes as we go through this process, people can't sleep and whatnot. So you're of course welcome to join. Please keep in mind that here tonight we're not here to offer any professional counseling or psychotherapy services. It's not a substitute for any medical advice. We're just having a conversation on the internet. Okay. Hugo, you've got an important message to unpack with us today. So why don't we get into talking about this theme of when it all falls apart?
mhm.
What can you share with us tonight to spark some conversation?
Mm. Well, that's my story, right? When it all falls apart. I cried on my cross. I guess pain was the catalyst for myself. Um, at one point, well, what I think, yeah, what I mentioned for me, it all began when I was, around 40. And before then, I guess I was in the person, well, my ex-wife, the person who I was with for a long time, I wasn't really being true to myself. I wasn't happy in that relationship. We had two daughters together. At that time, we were renovating a home, so I was a lot of toil and just hard work and just, we would I had employed people to sort of help me out and just think everything was going wrong. And I just felt there was just a point in my life where everything was going wrong. Like, not, everything started to fall apart. I was not being true to myself. I didn't know how to open up about this relationship because I guess I was a prisoner to conditioning in a sense that, I would always be told that, in relationship, you do what you have to do, when you have children, for example. And And I tried that, but I wasn't really being authentic. I wasn't being true to myself. And deep down inside, I was unhappy and I was just bottling all that up. I was under pressure, stress, work-wise. There's so many things at that time, which sent me on that, when we were discussing about all, it sent me on that moment where I found myself on my knees, essentially, when I was in that, vulnerable, open state, asking for God, like, I really need some help here. So that all happened. Um, and I guess after Kundalini sort of, after she erupted within me, I could not keep that, couldn't keep that bottled up. Like, so I couldn't keep this relationship that was not serving me. I was not happy in. So naturally, it just fell apart. I guess at the time, my partner, or my ex-wife, because of my struggles previously, I was kind of like coping with them. I was coping with my reactivity with medication because my ex-wife. The funny thing is that she works in the psych. She's a psych nurse, so she tried her best to sort of help me with what how she knew, and um, and that was conflicting for me. That was very conflicting for me because I deep down there was that thing of suppression, but I knew deep down that there was something more to it, that I needed to get to the root cause of what, all my reactivity and things. And I guess that, yeah. Anyway, fast forward, because of that lack of understanding, I felt like I didn't really have that support from her, and I wasn't happy anyway. So it just naturally fell apart. And all uh, the 15 years, like we saved up for, we worked hard, we saved together as a couple. We ended up buying a home. We put a deposit down on a home. We were paying off a mortgage, and I had, a sense of security, I guess, but I wasn't happy. And then it all fell apart. And at one point, I just found myself with a couple of suitcases and out the door. It was just, we just can't do this anymore. And I found myself, and Kundalini had erupted within me, so it was well and truly on the way. Um, and I found myself with my two suitcases out the door, and they ended up at my mum's place. Mum's got a spare room at her home, and the thought just came across. It's like, what was all that? Like 15 years, 15 years of hard toil, trying to build some sort of security, build a home, have a home, but I was in denial, but it all came crashing down in spectacular fashion. Found myself, yeah, as I said, with my suitcases, mum's, and that period at mum's house was like, I think that was the maybe the most contracted I had felt, deep, like, um, just trying to process it all. I guess what came to mind is, yeah, I've lost, everything that I'd worked for, gone, slipped out of my hands. Um, and just a moment of reckoning, like, what was all that about? Um, so I'm just having a moment to recollect my thoughts. And then, yeah, there was that cry on the cross, and it's just that cry on the cross. So, Father, why have you forsaken me? Like, what have I done? Um, there was this deep sadness. Yeah, sure, I wasn't happy in that relationship, but then there was a feeling of being thrust or being cast out into a void. Like, what do I do with this now? Where to from here? What do I do with this? Um, a grown man, then sort of moving back in with his mother. All these other feelings sort of coming up, like the sense of, um, there were the comparisons because there's tend to compare myself to others. Others, we've made it, we've had our sense of security, and then there's this comparison and all these, and at the time, as I mentioned before, the bats, the bats being spooked. All of that was all everything that was coming up was my sense of worthiness, was how everything that I had, yeah, all the stories that I created about myself or that I told myself. So everything was coming up thick and fast, and I was just sitting in this pool of, yeah, just uncertainty. And then on top of that was just the those nights of just feeling electrified and not being able to sleep, and a lot of phenomena, and being at mums, and there were my family, my mum, yeah, my brothers, my family, they all, they were worried. They were worried. What's going on with Hugo? Because I was being very insular. I would just lock myself away and just process a lot of emotions at my mum's house. I would just lock myself there and just try to absorb everything that's going. That would have been about 3 or 4 months or so, just processing. just before I can actually um, get myself back on track to actually then go out and rent another place for myself. So I guess yeah, I saw on your Facebook page, Brent, that people ask that question about the losing it all, and for me, it's so relevant for myself because I guess I'm grateful that at one point I understood that losing it all and everything just falling down, well, collapsing, imploding in spectacular fashion, was necessary, was so necessary for me because deep down I realized that everything that I had, I guess the foundations that I had built myself on were foundations that were built on sand. They were built on things that, you know, that people would recommend that I do, or do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. And I never really tuned in to the inner wisdom. I never really, I didn't know how. I didn't know how because I was always stuck, and stuck in the external world. And I was always trying to find the answers out there. And that with that implosion, I guess, with everything collapsing, it left me without, I just couldn't cling on to anything. There was nothing I could cling on to anymore. That sense of safety. Where do I feel safe? And there was no safety whatsoever. And then cast out into this void of nothingness. And I remember, I guess, in that void or that feeling of nothingness, there was nothing nothing to cling on to, I guess. I would experience like this energy of being held. I would experience kind of like being cradled and knowing that deep down inside this is happening for a good cause, or for myself. As I said before, so all the foundations that I had built on sand were being um, wiped away. It's like my cup's being emptied, right? There's this thing, a notion of empty my cup and fill it. And although it was painful, there was paradoxically there was I just knew that this is happening for a reason. I'm being quickened. This is um and with all this agitation that's going on, I was just feeling really agitated at that time. With just everything, there was a yeah, just a feeling of being agitated. Why me? Why this? And at the same time, just saying, okay, it's happening. It's occurring for me. Um, so I think I mentioned to you before in our interview the other day that I knew that there was a part of me that knew that there's a restructure going on, or not so much a restructure, maybe no, it was more like a remembering, because in that agitation, I think yeah, there was that analogy of the setting the concrete, because it's like I get a lot of visuals, and there was this visual that came is when they when people pour concrete, they agitate the concrete to set it. Like I felt like my all the foundations that I had built on were being rewired, and in consciousness I was just being exposed to all these I don't know, I guess how else yeah, how else would I heal without being thrust into it? There was no other way for me through that pain, through having, through the loss, through the pain, through people falling out, falling away, old people, the people that I had. Because at that point too, what happened as well is that I used it as an opportunity. I had that life with my ex, and we had our combined friends and all that, and people that we would hang out with, and I used that moment to do essentially I did a 180 degree. I went, this has been my world, this has been my life for the last 20, 25 years. And, there was like this feeling of, oh, well, it's what else can happen? Like, so I just did I can't, that sense of security. There's friends, there's a home, there is everything. And then there was that 180 degree turn where I just kind of like walked into an unknown world. It's going to be complete reach. There's going to be a complete restructure. Um, because I guess with that falling away, the friends started to fall away. I wasn't resonating with a lot of people. My previous life was, was a lot about social activities, and there'd be that drinking, or there'd be, I don't know, just connecting on not deeper levels. And I was there was, I wanted to connect with people more deeply. So, there was that loss of the old, and then just doing that 180 and embracing the new, and heading out into the world again with this new, well, just yeah, with this nothingness, and being invited to just start from nothing again, start from zero. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
As things were falling apart for you, Hugo, did you have a sense that this
Mhm.
was somehow connected to this Kundalini process? Was there a time where you recognized that, or was there a time where you felt that they were something the two different themes in your life?
At the start, I didn't. At the start, I just thought, I went into victim mentality. I didn't know.
Mm,
I was like trying, who do I blame here?
mm,
But it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't long after that. Yeah, I was made aware that this was happening for a reason. My cup's being emptied, and that being what, 10 or so years ago. And now I reflect, like, yeah, it was a tough period of my life, because at the same time there was all the phenomena, there was me scraping myself up off the bed trying to do father things, because I wasn't part of that family. Well, I wasn't part of the nucleus, but I was in touch with my daughters, and I would still have to do, they would stay with me, and I still would have to do lunches and still, get by in this world, turn up to work, scrape myself up off my mattress, and get myself to work. And as I mentioned, in our interviews, like, I don't know how I did that during that time. I have, yeah, I reflect back, and I remember the bathroom at work was like my little. I would just sort of remove myself and just lay and just go into the bathroom and just sit in like total surrender, because I'd be working, and everyone would be around me, and there would be tears coming down, and there would just be overwhelming, the bats, as I mentioned, all the healing going on, and everything surfacing to be seen, and so much coming up, and being at work, and trying to hold myself, or trying to ground myself. um and then yeah, with everything going on, having lost it all. And now I remember actually being at work. At one point, there was a colleague there who knew what I was going through, and she said something like, "Hey, have you heard of Meetup?" And I went, "No, no, I've never heard of it." And yeah, there's Meetup. You can meet up with you can connect with others. That you can connect with, sort of communities and things. So I got on Meetup, and I ended up getting, reaching out to a meditation group, and slowly started meeting new people, and started to. I guess I knew. There was that point of hitting rock bottom, and then for me it felt like I was in a hole. Like I was just in this hole, and I had a spoon, and I was just like a spoon at a time, just kind of like digging a little bit, and then making a bit of progress, and then another spoon, and then I was making probably a little bit at a time, and then I had enough soil in there to sort of get myself out of that hole. That's probably the best way I can describe that. And
yeah.
then from and then from there, there was that connections, when and I started meeting people who would, like, who could understand me. Um, they didn't have a they didn't have the Kundalini experience, but there were people who were into meditation, people who were on the journey within, and then they had some sort of understanding and no judgment. Um, so I guess from there was this moment of just pulling myself out, and just this feeling of being, yeah, I knew, like, because my thoughts are really just, I felt like it felt like my thoughts were just combobbled. There was a point where I just felt like there was just this mental diarrhea, and it was just I didn't know. Yeah, it was just it was way too much. But I knew that it was surfacing for a reason. It was just sort of dropping, sort of sorry, it's just surfacing, just like a volcano. It was just sort of releasing. Um, Yeah, and I guess with that spoon analogy, a little bit at a time, and then sort of coming out of those states, and then gaining a lot more clarity, and then I guess it was a little bit at a time that I was getting more clarity, and then I started to understand that this was all happening for good reason,
Mm.
and then there was more acceptance. There was more, okay, this is to a point where I would then say, okay, this is turned up, and I have a choice here, or whatever. If any challenge would turn up. I would understand fully, and I would that really helped me to build my relationship with Shakti within because I would ask the question, okay, what are we doing here? What are we breaking free from? I would always, inquire within and not get myself lost anymore. I was always building like this. I guess I was just living a meditative life. My whole day was like really reflecting within and just whether I would wake up in the morning and, enjoy my food and just have this, it was a feeling like just being in constant, like touching base within, going for a walk at work, my conversation with other people, everything. It was just like this constant. And then when things would arise or whatever challenges, I would just, do that self-inquiry and processing. So there was like because I didn't do that previously. I didn't do that for the first, 40 years of my life. I was in a mess, but now I knew that that's the way I have to do this from here onwards. It's just this constant touching base within, and knowing that there is no teacher. Like, because now the student's ready, I'm ready, and the teacher for me is Shakti. So I'm holding you by the hand, or you're taking me by the hand, and we're going to do this together. So I guess yeah, that was a big turning point. That kind of like accepting that and you are the teacher for me. You just take me, you just teach me, you just let me know what I need to do so I can break free from these shackles that have held me captive for way too long.
Mm.
um yeah, to the point where now like not long ago, because then I was single after that relationship. I was single for about 2 years, and then I met someone, and I consider, I don't love to use the word twin flame, but I considered her. When we met, I knew straight away that she was someone on her own journey, and she was someone who came from plant medicine. So it was amazing because she understood me. She actually was someone who really I could speak to. I could be open. I could be vulnerable. I could share and we could discuss these things and we could talk the spiritual talk, I guess. And not long ago, like, yeah, we were together for 6 years, and not long ago, yeah, we decided to part ways, only because our visions weren't aligning. Like, we had a lot in common. As I mentioned, we knew how to set intentions. We knew how to sort of keep ourselves accountable and be very open. So we had that space for ourselves, but we just weren't aligning with where where we saw ourselves. And and even though that hurt, like even though that was painful, because we did do like a conscious we went through a moment of conscious uncoupling where we did, we did this together. We did that. We honored each other, and we would sit we would make bonfires, and we would sit in gratitude, and we would be very grateful for each other because I must admit she mirrored a lot of stuff that I had been carrying, and I was very grateful for that. So it was painful, but I had with her, I had moments where I would catch myself out. There's still stuff here, like, things that I would take personally, for example, and still more purging going on. So, um, and although that was painful to have left that relationship because of that relationship with myself, Shakti, it just felt right. it just felt right. I just knew that I can't, and this is happening for a reason, Hugo. It's not, I can't hang on. I can't hang on to the safety and the security with that relationship. It's like, yep, it's things working, but the things that aren't. So it's just with Shakti, she just really keeps me honest. We just put everything out on the table and a lot of that self-observation. There's like, oh, I miss, but what is it that you really miss? Is it her? Do you miss companionship? Can we be okay? Can we be alone? So it's been a moment of yeah. So I guess it's that loss. So it was like there was a cry on the cross as well. I was like, okay, shit, I'm emptying my cup. How much more do you want me to empty? Like, I've lost amazing relationships. I've lost the home before that, and how much can I just let go of, right? Um, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
remember asking God, what more do you want?
Mm,
What more do you want? That was a question that I had during these times of it all falling apart. Yeah, thank you so much for your vulnerability and your openness and sharing. You've brought up so many themes that we can all relate with in some way or another. I've encountered people who, like you, seem to have had everything going well on paper,
mm,
really
mm,
great careers, everything is just moving well, and then this awakening happens, and it causes us to reconsider everything. It brings us into some degree of solitude, aloneness. So for you, it was going back to mom's house, also taking space in the bathroom at work. I've heard others, it's in the forest, it's in their car. Somehow they just get evicted out of their life and then they're meant to face things alone. And the reason we meet here to talk about this today is because, we can acknowledge like traditionally this process would take place in somewhat of an ideal environment in an environment like a monastery or a nunnery or some community where other people had gone through this, so they're familiar, they're equipped, they're wise, they're able to support you, and they create a space for you to go through this. Whereas people like us, like we're saying, I mean, you were taking space in the bathroom at work. Like this is difficult. This is difficult, right?
mm,
We're playing on hard mode here as we go through
mm,
it in this environment, and I just share that just so we can all just like acknowledge like what we're going through is very hard, very, very
mm.
hard. In our own way, of course, in our own way. Yeah, so it sounds like though, um, over time I like to say that you were brought in on the joke. You start to understand this is not bad stuff happening to you and you're not a victim. This is actually a clearing, healing, transformative process that's making
Mhm,
space for things that are more in alignment. It's making space for you to grow and then to of course grow into your gifts, your skills, and then to give that to others
mm.
in the world. Um, so if you could
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about the opportunity that you've created for others to connect so that they can also get in on the joke a little bit, to realize that they're not victims through the Kundalini Hub.
You said something, and that brought something to my attention
Mm,
that even like, because not long ago I with that split with my ex-partner that we were together for 6 years with, um, on the flip side of that, the being thrust, and having to find a new place to stay, and in that solitude, it it has really that solitude has served me well because that really forced me into creating into really honing in on this project. So I've been in this new environment, getting, just getting familiar with that. And it has really, yeah, just thrust me into, okay, here I find myself alone. I'm doing a lot of processing and there's a lot of crying coming up. There's that loss, grieving the loss of the relationship, change, and whatever needs to surface, okay. But that pain was like fertilizer. It was the fertile. It's like I was sitting in the manure, and that shit was the fertilizer for me to give, to redirect that energy into this project. And that's where I've been, because this thing is it's sort of started maybe, I don't know, sort of getting myself into it maybe 8 months ago, And then, half of that 8 months was me going through a breakup, and it threw a bit of a spanner in. And I had to sort of, navigate all those emotions and feelings and that loss. And then the second half was like, okay, now I find myself alone. There's none of that victimization. There's no one to blame. I'm just here. I'm in things have changed. But now what do I do? I have a choice. What do I do with this? So it really served me to then channel that grief or the sadness, and I would just spend my time working away and then narrowing down, and then finally getting this project to the point where I can actually just release it and be done. Just getting it out there, and if I need to sort of fine tune, I can fine tune. It's okay. I just just doing a deep dive. I'm ready. I'm just going to dive in, and so that's where I find myself at the moment. Yeah. I'm like, okay, there's grief because, and that's sort of it's moved a lot. I actually noticed that uh, a lot of that grief from the last loss has shifted quite a lot, and now there's a lot of gratitude um, for her, and now it's like, okay, now we're stepping into a new role. There's a new I can breathe. There's a there's a sense of being able to breathe, and now I can dedicate myself because I guess in a relationship, that's the other thing. Like for myself, it's like there's a relationship thing, and in relationship we think about not just me but her, and now I just like, okay, no, this is going to be about me. This time is going to be about self-love. It's going to be all about refocusing on myself. Yes, it's hurting. Yes, it's painful, but I'm gonna just, yeah, I'm just gonna love myself, and I'm just gonna, it's gonna, what am I gonna do with this? And I really love that. There's that analogy that I've heard about, you know, I guess if you're on a plane, and if the plane happens to go down and the oxygen mask. So I know that, I deliver the oxygen to myself first, and then I can give of it. So I've been really tending to myself these last 4 months, and just
Mhm.
embracing me and just really honing in on myself to then be able to give. And I guess it's been really energizing to then, yeah, to reach out to yourself, and then to reach out and just really, use that as a driver to sort of get this thing going. And yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So tell us a little bit about what the Kundalini Hub offers to those listening that would like to connect.
Yeah, sure. So originally, like when it all started to unbottle for myself, I didn't really have the people that I connected with were all, Northern Hemisphere. And yeah, there was things drop in, and became apparent that because I was asking, "Oh, I said something along the lines of, we need someone to do this here. I was like, it would be great if, and then it's like, boom, and it's like, no, that's you, Hugo. You're the one. So you haven't gone through this in vain. You haven't experienced being led astray, going to there's like, you need to step in and you need to be doing this. So I really appreciate, for example, that's why I joined in on your groups, and I was seeing what you were doing in the Q&A sessions. So then I thought, yeah, okay, I'll do, because I was getting up. I join in on your sessions only when the time changes, like during well, in our summer, because then it's like six. Sorry, then it's around 6 a.m. But before then, it's either 4 or 5 a.m. And I'm like, no, I'd rather sleep at that time. So the idea came. Um, it'd be great to sort of, have something more local at a certain, at a reasonable time where I can do pretty much what you're doing. So the intention is to host like a Q&A session on Thursday evenings, and then what I because as you mentioned, yeah, I am involved in men's circles and men's work. At one point on my journey, yeah, my ex-partner actually, because I didn't have many men in my, because I had sort of done that 180 degree. I didn't have many men, men that are, men with open hearts, men that can understand, um, and and turning up to those men's circles, we have like those, we have intimate sharing circles. So I thought, and I've been facilitating those as well. So I thought, oh, it'd be a good idea to sort of create like an intimate sharing circle where all of you is okay, and we can just sort of go around and just share what's going on for each and every one of us. And the idea was, because I don't go to church, I'm not a, and Sunday mornings is like, that's sort of like a church time. So wouldn't it be good if like Sunday morning was an opportunity for each of us to step into our temple, church, and then share of ourselves, and just remove the masks, and just have this understanding, and just go around the circle and share. And there's no advice giving, there's just unless it's requested, obviously, but there's just an opportunity for you to just turn up with everything, or whatever's coming up for you in this moment, well, through this process, and share of it. So that's that. So there's the Q&A, the intimate sharing, and then there's the one-on-one sessions that I offer as well. Yeah.
Amazing. Hugo, the KundaliniHub.com. Check it out. Spread the word. Some more opportunities to connect, relate, get support. And now, of course, we've got groups uh, from all around the world, and we're not necessarily all affiliated with one another. We're all just arising spontaneously. Of course, for those in the UK, there's the Kundalini Collective that you can check out as well. There's When Lightning Strikes going on in North America as well. And of course, you can join any of these groups from wherever you are in the world. But fortunately, if you're on Hugo's part of the world, you can wake up at a reasonable hour and meet him and connect with all the others as well. Yeah, Hugo, thank you so much for being here and sharing so openly, so vulnerably about your journey and how you overcame some really difficult things. I hope it's been inspiring for those out there who may be in times where they're feeling like things are falling apart. It's not happening in vain, as Hugo said. There is a higher purpose behind what we're going through here.
Mhm.
So the links, of course, to everything that we've mentioned will be in the description. Check it all out. We're going to open the floor for the community to share now. Maybe you have some reflections after what you've heard, some things coming up for you that you like to relate. Maybe you've got a question for Hugo or the group. It's all welcome here. Maybe you've got some burning things on your mind that you just want to share in a community that can relate and understand. That's welcome too. We can go off topic. This is Kundalini After Dark, so we're going to just let the conversation breathe, let it take a life of its own. BrentSpirit.com/After Dark. Thank you all so much for all of your support, for being here, for all of your donations, your engagement online, your ratings on Spotify. It goes a long way for me. And once again, check it out, the KundaliniHub.com. The link is in the description. Okay, so we've got a couple hands here. Let's hear from David, also joining us from down under. Hey, David.
Hi, Brent. Yeah, thank you again for staying up so late for us on the other side of the world and for every bit of other work that you do. And Hugo, congratulations in stepping out of your fear into helping others. I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of us that we're profoundly grateful for the space, Brent, and all the work that you do. I honour everybody's journey. I can relate with Hugo. I certainly went through a bottoming out at the beginning of this process. With lack of wisdom, but it's all coming to the surface now where it tends to guide us to where we're supposed to be. What came was a beautiful podcast I just put in the chat there, a reference to it from Michael Singer, which is from Sounds True Podcasts. And he talks about the dance of Shakti and the conscious energy and liberation therewith. To me, that was very enlightening. And he puts a totally different spin on it. That we're all simply blocked from Shakti. So he started off early on with saying that, the masters years ago saw this shimmering light. Once that evolved out of duality, basically, this shimmering light was full of everything, or everything was this shimmering light. So your thoughts, your emotions, everything in the physical, the chairs, the computers we're looking at, anger, love, every single thing is one energy, shimmering light. which is Shakti. So when you realize that, there's the oneness in everything which serves us. And Singh is simply saying that by the will, which is very powerful, the individual will can block it. So Shakti is always trying to come forward and go to God, to raise and go to God. But there's blockages in each and every one of us by what we've put there from early childhood, from these beliefs we've taken on, all the rest of it. But he says if you simply sit with it, if you're facing the disturbance of it and allow it to rise, it will pass. So I found that extremely liberating. That when each and every one of us, if we sit without fear and face it, realizing the true identity is not the body or anything physical, there's the awareness behind it all. You know, the painter is not the painting. The painting is the non-physical perception coming through the body. So where the awareness behind it all can never be damaged. It's perfectly whole and complete. So there's nothing to fear. But if this Shakti, which is all it is simply wanting to rise through us, through the density of the physical body and causing all this disturbance, and wanting to purge and clear the pathways, all we have to do is being able to cope with reality. What's happening within us to allow it to flow. And once Shakti flows, you become, I believe, in the singularity, like those masters, or it's been written about in texts and noted for thousands of years. You start to perceive yourself as light and you see the light. So it's simply a matter of unblocking the blockages. Am I okay with reality? Can I handle reality with what's in front of me? And he's saying that Shakti will pass. The only resistance is the will keeping it from flowing. So that is surrender. Knowing we're okay because we're awareness. Not to label, not to put words on anything else, just to sit and be present. The more present we are, the less resistance. So he simplified it beautifully. I'd highly recommend everybody watch it. He brought a great gift to me. So no matter what's happening, it all has a purpose. Everything exists because it has a purpose for our own evolution and growth. Back to being that shimmering white light. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you, David. That's beautiful. Yeah, and that
Thank you,
was
David.
Michael Singer's podcast from the Sounds True YouTube channel called The Dance of Shakti. So beautifully articulated, David. Thank you so much. And it echoes, of course, Hugo's themes there of everything falling apart to then come back together in a new way. Any
I
reflections,
just wanted
Hugo?
to share. So no, I just wanted to reflect on what David said, and thank you, David, for your share. It just something just popped in for myself, and how I relate that everything is, for a reason. For example, after leaving that the relationship that I had with my recent partner, ex-partner, sorry, I had to move out into a share home, right, where I am with other people. And in that moving into this share home, it's, oh my goodness, it's like it's unearthing all these emotions of worth and comparison. It's like here I am, this man, of nearly 50 years, and he's in a share house with, it's like and there's this comparison with there's even the shame of sharing that like with other people, and it's like, hey Hugo, it's like you need to work. It's like that relationship with Shakti within. It's like that's what we're working on here. All that shame, all that comparison, just underneath that. If you can just sit here with me, because I've been in this place, and there's all these agitation coming up, of where I would like to live and where I would want to be, and then I know that the pot of gold is just on the opposite side of my agitation. So now it's really forced me, the current situation that I find myself, to really hone in on what I do want, and and that's been crucial for me. Luckily for me, I have that understanding, so it does. I can't go into. I can't. I can't victimize. I just have to go. Okay, what's this agitation? What's this feeling? I'm feeling like I'm being compressed even more, but knowing that just beyond that compression, there's the pot of gold. So yeah. So thanks again. Thanks again, David.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you both.
If I can, Brett, just very quickly to end, just to
Yeah.
put it in perspective, which Singer does, there's 300 billion stars in our galaxy, the Milky Way. There's 2.5 million light years away to the next galaxy, Andromeda. There's 300 billion stars in our galaxy, and there's 2 trillion galaxies. And our Earth fits into the sun, which is the closest star, 1.3 million times. And we're worried about what? You think the intelligence that's running all this, the energy behind it's not going to look after you? Thanks, Brent.
Thank you. Very empowering. Let's hear from Molly.
Hi. I just want to share that I very much relate to Hugo's story. I also experienced a complete breakdown of my life. Everything I've known, it's gone. All my friends, my career, my home, my identity, everything's gone. It's extremely painful, very, very painful. And I recently gone through a breakup as well 6 months ago, and it was also just shattering. Oh, it was so much pain. And I was going through like addiction, and it's wow, it's like a lot. Um and and I'm like I'm seeing like actually the light at the end of the tunnel right now, because I've had 46 days of sobriety in my addiction, that I just like work so hard for. It's just so precious. And addiction recovery is very much just like Kundalini. It's just surrendering to God. It's
Mm.
because when I act from my sort of what I want, then I go into addiction. Then if I just surrender to the will of God, then I don't use, and I just do this every day. And yeah, so that's very, very hard and very growthful. And with like the end of my last relationship, I was so just completely broken from that. I also have to move to a new place. And when I was just moving to my new place, it just like everything, there's like there's nothing like it just felt like the life is shattered. And and I just want to share something really wonderful. And look at this plant, like this a leaf of from a plant. So when I first moved in to the apartment, there's a plant and the leaf just broke off. Like I bought a plant. It's just one leaf, it broke off. And that was like 5 months ago. So I thought, okay, I'll keep it in like a little vase and keep some water in it and see how long it lasts. And I thought it would probably be alive for like 2 weeks or something, then it would die, but then it kept staying alive. So I just keep like replacing water every week. I'm like, well, it's probably gonna die soon. It's probably gonna die soon. And it just doesn't die. And it's now like 5 to 6 months later, and it's still alive. I'm like really amazed by it. And then yesterday I was cleaning, I was checking the plant, and if you see it, there's a tiny little root growing out from the bottom of the plant. It's like, wow, like it's just so like symbolic, it's like me. I feel like this plant. And it's like, oh, okay, there's a tiny little root, it's gonna live. Yeah. Yeah, it's just
Mm.
yeah, I'm just really touched by this. I just want to share this. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you so much, Molly. Very, very touching and inspiring.
Thank you, Molly.
Nature's such an incredible teacher. Mother Nature, of course, synonymous with the Divine Mother, at least in my paradigm. Yeah. Has nature meant anything to you, Hugo, as you go through this?
Oh, There's nothing like nature. It's grounding nature and grounding properties. You know, when I was in the worst of or through my journey, I would find places close to home where I would just seek solace and just sit by a stream, lay down my back against a tree, and just really sit with myself. I guess nature has that capacity to just hold me, um, and just to really allow me to ground and just really just yeah center. So without nature, I love my swims in the ocean. I love my hikes because I found a lot of physical activity too helped me to ground. So without nature, I guess yeah, all those nourishing things. So for me, without music, without nature, yeah, don't know what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned music as well, and I look for signs of the Divine Mother everywhere I go, and I hear it there in music as well. This is from the Muse. It's
Mm,
music, Mother Nature, right? The
hmm
most incredible things. Hmm. Today, someone had written me a nice email with a prayer they had come up with specifically to Mother Mary, and
mm,
not a particular archetype that I relate with. I seem to be drawn more towards the Hindu depictions of the Divine Mother, but Mother Mary, nonetheless, I recognize as still synonymous with this, Shakti. Anyway, I'm walking down the street today, and the flow called me into a store, and it was an interesting gift store, and there I saw a beautiful picture of Mother Mary. Only a few minutes after reading that email, and I thought, oh, there it is, and then. Later on, I wandered a little further down the street and found myself in a church, and I hadn't really wandered into a church in a long time. And there again, there was a really beautiful painting of a depiction of Mother Mary holding a baby Jesus. And it reminded me, I was actually reminded of that experience I had today when you were sharing, Hugo, about feeling as if you were held, feeling as if you
mm.
were held. Do you have any relationship with the Divine Mother in that way? I know you draw a lot from Christianity, Jesus' story, themes in the
Mhm.
Bible, but does Mother Mary mean much to you?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. Not that I can feel. I just feel that I really, okay. So what's coming through for me is that through my process, well, initially I went into a real feminine, I did feel like the heart opening. So that was, I remember at one point there were two, where there's like a bolt of lightning just shot up the spine, and then my heart became ablaze, and it just started, ooh, and just pulsating and opening, and for me, I don't know if I a relationship with Mother Mary, but it's just a real nurturing. Like I noticed that my internal thoughts were just really loving and nurturing.
Hmm.
Like it was just like yeah, and I just felt like I had a feminine feel to that. Like very like not being hard on myself. It's okay, Hugo. It's and I'm here with you, and just feeling guided and supported. And to me, that feels like this is what that must refer to as what the Holy Spirit is. It's like this because I'm feeling whole. I'm not feeling fragmented here. I'm like feeling like I'm being guided, but with such a not a tender, mothering kind of like voice, or feeling like I'm held and feeling yeah, just feeling held. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Beautiful. Yeah. That feeling I can relate with, and that's what got me through everything really, but especially those really difficult times where everything is falling apart and I don't know
mm,
where to go or what to do. I'm confused, I'm lost, and then I have this feeling. Sometimes I was directly shown or told that you're still held. You're still held. Yeah.
mm.
Let's hear from Jay.
Hey, Brent. Hey, Hugo. Hey, everyone. Glad to be with you guys. Yeah, just some thoughts were coming up while everyone was talking. The first thing I wanted to say, I just want to give a shout out to anyone, to some of us who don't feel okay, don't feel held. Things don't make sense. Everything's all pretty fucked up. And fuck this process, right?
Mm,
Like, because I feel like that a lot of the time, um, especially when things get very difficult. And I think it's really helpful. Like, I love this message. I think the message that's being said as the default message for me feels right. But there's so many times where there can be, it's isolating already. And then sometimes when you hear like, it's all got a purpose and, everything fits together, it can feel even more isolating when you're not feeling that and haven't felt that in a while, right?
mm,
It's just like, holy shit, I'm fucking this up too. Like my Kundalini awakening, I'm driving this thing into the ditch too, right? So I just wanted to give a shout out to anyone that's feeling like that. Um, that I've definitely been there and I go there regularly. And the next thought that came up is this sense of divinity and the sense of being held. Sometimes that can happen through a lot of friction, a lot of despair, a lot of surrender, and opening and purging. And then you get to a place of light and you're like, oh, okay, the divinity is here, right? But I went through a period where I was doing that a lot. And at some point, I wasn't able to access the divinity anymore. And what I actually needed was to take care of like my physical body. I needed to do something to decrease my anxiety. I needed to see people. I needed to be on the phone talking to people. I needed to vent. I needed to do all the kind of, I don't want to call it mundane, but just the practical human things to get myself into a better mood, not trying to just like purge my way into the divine, but just calm myself, calm my system. And then when I was feeling better, when I was actually sleeping 7 hours a night, okay, that sense of divinity was there and more accessible. And that sense of being held was there. So I just kind of felt like sharing. Sometimes we can get too spiritual and think that's the entire answer when we really need to do the simple things that, people in the Muggleverse are doing, the regular people, and
mm,
not get too into the rarefied air. So those are some things that came up that I thought might be helpful to be expressed. So
mm,
that's it, and lovely to see everyone.
Definitely very helpful, Jay. Thank you. Hugo, any
mm.
reflections?
No, no, thank you, Jay. Totally valid. I mean, yeah, I get you, man. It's that cursing. I know it very well too. Fuck
Yeah.
you. Why me? Like, why this? Why destroy me?
Yeah.
Fuck you. Fuck you. You know,
Yeah.
and like, what do I pun? Or what do I let this frustration out on? Obviously not anyone, but how do I, allow this frustration to move and this anger and this just bitterness and this like, I'm seeing everyone else sort of doing life, and here I am being, like no one gets me, and I'm just being thrust into this void and this frustration, and I've got to hold myself and I've got to be accountable for myself, but I just
Yeah.
so totally valid and totally understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Catherine relates in the chat here. She says, like, I'm fucking everything up, including the K process.
hmm
And Tom adds, I've been following this path for 28 years and I still feel that way. Yeah, so these are big themes. And I
Mm.
see it's there, you know, nobody has ever gone through this process smoothly and perfectly. It's been a mess for every single person that's gone through an
Mm.
awakening process has had some mishaps or some moments of being confused and lost and unsure and doubtful and you know, maybe like Jay was saying, not fully taking care of our body perfectly or properly. And it's a mess for everybody in some way or another. For some, of course, it's maybe more messier.
Mm.
But nobody gets this perfectly right in one shot. It's a roller coaster for everybody.
Mm.
Yeah. Really important theme there that you shared, Jay, about just the mundane muggle things of just general self-care. Remembering this is a process that involves our entire system, our body. And if we don't sleep well, we don't eat well, how can the body sustain these expanded states of consciousness? Right? We need to take care of our body. And that's why for the most part, I don't really share much beyond finding some degree of a higher power to relate with, to put some faith and trust in, and taking care of your body as this process unfolds. Um,
Mm.
seems like that'll do it.
Mm.
Yeah. And I understand, of course, there's people out there that you know, are in such a place. It's the dark night of the soul is so dark that, you know, to hear people mentioning everything is going to work out and it's all falling into place and there's order to this and it's not happening in vain. Like that sounds icky. It makes you want to throw up. I get that. I get that. I've been there too. I remember being at such a low point, everything had fallen apart, and I just had Matt Kahn. And Matt Kahn, really high vibe guy, saying that it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. And I remember saying, I hope this fucking guy is not full of shit. Because I'm putting everything that I got into him saying that it's gonna work out.
Yeah.
Mm.
So sometimes I
There's
think
something.
that we're here to just keep the pilot on light on.
Mm.
Go ahead, Hugo.
No, no, just something came up for me when I was at my lowest point. Is that at one point, I started to get in meditation, I started to get severe ringing in my ears. And it just felt like it was a freight train in my, like a screeching. And I kid you not, I couldn't. There were moments where there was a point in my life when there was that high pitched sound, I couldn't even gather my thoughts because it was so distracting. And then I couldn't sleep there was a point where I didn't sleep for about 10 days. And I was hallucinating. Honestly, I felt like I hit the bottom of the barrel. I was hallucinating. I didn't know what I was doing. And I ended up, I honestly wanted to just end it. There was just so much pain, right? And the fuck you was like, it was like the deepest fuck you because here I am, like, I had never felt, I don't even know how to, like this darkness. I just want the fuck out of this fucking straitjacket. Just want out. I want to be done. Give me a gun and put a bullet in my head. I was having really pretty dark thoughts because of the emotional and the physical pain because of the lack of sleep and my ears ringing. Um, so I get it. I totally understand. You know how it can send one batty,
Mm.
to use a better words than bat terminology. Yeah.
Thanks, Hugo. Yeah. So one thing that I refuse to do after going through incredible darkness and it's somehow still finding out that I've been held is I refuse to put that aside and not, like I said, keep the pilot light on. That's what we're here to do. We can vent, but if it makes you uncomfortable when we're saying, hey, perhaps there's light at the end of the tunnel, I think you have to sit with that discomfort because I'm not going to stop saying that. And I'm not going
Mm.
to discourage anybody else who wants to encourage others to keep going, right? We're
Mm.
here to hold the light because
Yeah.
that's what the people that got me through the difficulty did for me. Despite me
Mm.
saying, man, I hate these people, they still held the light and said, keep going. in my journey at least, I could understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, something just came up for me, Brent, too. At one point I had a bit of a mantra saying, I am the fucking light going through the tunnel. Because if I believe myself to be separate, it's not at the end of it. I'm like, and I would just say that to myself. I'm not separate from, like, I feel like I'm, the sender and the sent are one. So I've sent myself into this limitation and contraction. And now the genie's been unbottled and you're bringing me back. So, I just thought to share that, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Jay. Let's hear from Amanda.
Okay.
Oh, you're muted, Amanda.
Okay, I raised my hand and didn't really have anything to say. But I appreciate what everyone is saying here. Um, I think I appreciate the space to express the difficulty of this process as well as the times where it has felt very holding and yeah, I guess having both and yeah, I'm just what people were saying reminded me um I'm I'm taking classes in like clinical social work right now and I had a professor talk about like she was a clinician and was sitting with someone who was yeah, just like wanted to end their life and it's like had enough. And she like made the choice to like say like that um yeah, that reaction, that thing is like a part of you that's like wants to survive so badly and that's like the only way it can. Um so I don't know if I like am in the headspace right now just because this is and very for me I'm like very sensitive to energies to like articulate what I'm trying to say, but I guess just this sense of like that part of us that's like clinging for survival and clinging for to take care of ourselves. That's like very human part of us through this process, like recognizing and like I don't know, just like offering that appreciation. Like that's the way it knows how to like mask us from pain and just giving tenderness to that part as well, I guess that's like can come up through this process. And I think, yeah, so I'm just feeling that in my heart right now. And again, I think words are hard sometimes, but feeling it here for all of you all here. And um, just wanted to express that, yeah, this is really difficult. And also there's a lot of love through this process as well.
Beautiful. Thank you, Amanda. I feel that. Great reminders today to just return to just gentle self-care, being gentle with ourselves. And self-care, of course, also has to do with the way that we talk to ourselves. Like Hugo, you were sharing about that nurturing, feminine kindness that arose from within. Yeah. Let's hear from Catherine.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a really good conversation. I think kind of the complexity of the whole process. I think I've said on a regular basis, like every single day, this is not for the faint of heart. Like it's and it's this dichotomy of both being rather brutal, like just physically, and I trigger warning. I'm not going to go into detail, but what I am personally healing from is sexual abuse from my father and narcissistic abuse, and it's really deep. And I might actually cry. It was really dark. What I grew up with was really, really, really dark. And I think the challenging part of, and I heard some things like if you survive the abuse, you survive the recovery, right? And that's been helpful for me. And dance has been like so critical for me. It's a pathway to channel just really strong emotions and achieve somatic releases. I just did like a 4-day intensive shamanic dance training, and it was unbelievable. It's a safe place to have all the emotions come up and like be able to transmute them, because I think for me it's so important not to censor the emotions, because that's so much of what I just can't afford to basically. And yeah, and so, and one of my mantras is, I'm not a victim, I'm a motherfucking warrior. Like, and I just need that sometimes, because it can get, I can go into that, and it's just like, God, why am I here? What is my purpose? And I know what it is. But yeah, and I think that kind of the nonlinear, that this is emotional, it's not logical, and for me, so much of it. And, I also say, like, every day, my ego does not know how to do this. It's not who's leading the show. So that surrender and kind of that titration between agency and surrender, like, what do I have agency over, and where can I surrender? And yeah, and sometimes it's moment by moment. Like I've been getting, I also will give a huge shout out for Network Spinal Analysis. It's gentle chiropractic care. It has been a godsend for me, like absolute godsend. They know how to work with the nervous system, and the healing is it's much faster, just because they can get your nervous system in higher states of coherence, like take out blocks, but also just to have somebody that can help me has been so, like, I think that's half of what's beneficial for me. But I had a really deep adjustment yesterday, and I was in so much pain today, and I'm 21 months in. And I mean, I was talking to God, like, I just don't know how strong you think I am. Like, I don't know. I literally don't know much longer I can be in this level of pain. Like, it's just been, I mean, it's been almost 2 years of intense pain. And yeah, not every day is this intense, um I mean, like, I think and that's the ego, right? Like, I want to know when. Like, I've been reflecting on that, how much of my discomfort is not being okay with uncertainty. Like, I want to know all the things. I want to know what this relationship means. I want to know this, and this. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's such a multi-dimensional healing process: emotional, physical, psychological, spiritual, past life, this life, future life, quantum. Like, I've been in this entangled relationship, which is like non-local, like, so it's like connection, it's a spiritual connection, and it's been really confusing. And I'm like, okay, like, all of it. And I'm just like, but I guess that's like part of it too. It's just like everything is flux, everything is moving, everything is flowing. And just to um, for me, I do trust the divine. I have such an incredible faith in my relationship with the divine. So I do feel held in that. And I also feel like the divine is big enough to hold all of me. So can hold my fear, my anger, my sadness, my love. I don't feel like there's a part that's not, like, all of me belongs. But yeah, um it's also like, there's nothing that can really prepare you for Kundalini before you get into it. So but I also just finished a master's. I graduated from Harvard, magna cum laude, and I'm super proud of myself in a Kundalini awakening. That was brutal. I was on my stomach for the most part, but I did it, and there's so many blessings. And I think yeah, it's just the emotions have to be felt. And I've definitely been someone that has had a large amount of rage at what was done to me and other women and children, and just the harm that has happened in this world. And sometimes it's, I think it's emotionalism versus emotion. Like I have to be careful of protecting my energy, myself, and who's around me. I can't always do that, but um, yeah, I think the process is as individual as we each are. Like there's common themes, but like it's our own divinity coming into being. So I'm rambling, but thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So many empowering themes, and you've overcome so much. Anything come up for you, Hugo?
Oh. Yeah, the only thing that's coming up for me is just hearing Catherine, and that for me sometimes like in a Samuel L. Jackson voice, I'm one bad motherfucker. Like no one, because I can't really express what's going on. No one knows, and just everything that I'm taking on board, and there's just like this, yeah. And like, there's that saying that whatever doesn't, okay, for me it's like whatever doesn't kill me. Not that it's not going to make me stronger, it's just making me realize that I'm consciousness, and consciousness cannot be destroyed. So I just keep saying that to myself. And so where do I choose to remain consciously in awareness? But yeah, powerful stuff.
Yeah, powerful. And Tree Wiseblood adds on YouTube here, we will all come to the point of having enough of the personal contracted ego identity. It isn't sustainable. We know we are more. Yeah. Thank you all for your reflections in the chat as well. Let's hear from Tom and then Lori.
Hi. Kind of been a very heavy hour and a half, so we all seem to be at that point where or tonight anyway, nailed to the cross, and we're all asking, Father, why have you deserted me, or whatever. Those words were attributed to Jesus as he was just before he died. But remember that after he asked that question, he went beyond the simple three-dimensional suffering that world that's full of suffering that we're all enduring right now. In order to get there, we have to get through this. And part of it comes from we all have to work together. I'll just really very quickly go through something that happened to me. I had three major visions after receiving Shaktipat, and the second one was I was climbing, sort of walking up a mountain, and there was a meadow, and as the path went through the meadow, winding up the mountain, and as I walked through, there was an old woman lying beside the path, sort of lying, and she asked me for help to get up, and I said to her, "I'm sorry, but this is something each person has to do on their own. So I'm really sorry," and started walking away, and I turned around and I said, "Oh, fuck it, let's all go up together." And I took her hand, and everyone on the mountain suddenly was full of people, and we're all going up together. And that's something that we're here to do, not to bring each other down by actually reveling in the suffering is kind of good if you know what you're doing, because it can pitch you right through to where you want to go. But yeah, got to keep in mind that we're all together here, and we can help each other on this way. And all things must pass, right? So, as George Harrison sang, and somebody else probably said. So, let's. I really appreciate the help I've gotten from all the comments and everything else I've got on your site, Brett, and from Hugo from his insights today. And thanks a lot. Thanks. It's all been very helpful and very good to know I'm not alone. And gnawing at my own stomach like a poisoned animal. Anyway, that's adios.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, we're not alone, and that's like really empowering, encouraging. We can all go up together.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Lori.
Yeah, thank you. This is my first time joining this group. I knew that I had gone through an awakening, and I don't know if it fell off my radar that I had a Kundalini awakening at some point, but I really thought something had gone wrong for quite a while, for like over a year. And so once I sort of realized what was going on and looked up Kundalini, uh, I was like, oh, this is what I've been going through. And it is so different for each person. And even for each person, it's so different as it progresses, like it changes. And the part where like we can sometimes feel like, oh, screw this. I remember hearing it's not it's happening for you, it's not happening to you. And I remember that making me so angry at the time. And I realized that it's like, well, not everyone is in that place. It's kind of like first it's happening to you. Like we need to, otherwise it's totally invalidating. It's like, no, hang on, like this is happening to me. And as you progress, I think, and we need to have the experiences ourselves. Someone can say, oh, there's the light at the end of the tunnel. And up until, I've had so many things fall away. And recently there was like something that happened where it was like, oh my gosh, is this what is it happening? Is there actually some light here? And it was an experience where, and I just remember crying because I thought about how much I had gone through and just how grateful I was to see that bit of light where someone could tell me all they want, and until I experience it for myself, that's going to be difficult for me to believe in. And at the same time, I did have something in me that said, just keep going. And at times it was like, just stay alive. Like, just do whatever that's all I have to do right now is just keep myself alive. And Brent, I think I had heard you recently say something like, you can't mess this up. And I started crying when I heard that. Because it felt like I had messed up plenty of times. And, we weren't taught how to do this. And so I see us as at a little bit at the forefront of, um, we're going through this, and there's some extra challenge because there isn't that support out there. And I've also come to realize that it doesn't necessarily need to be as complicated as I've made it out to be at times, and that it is sometimes going back to basics. And I felt like I needed to be doing more than I was doing. And there was this level of surrender where it was like, no, you don't have to do anything right now except just be. And that was this shedding of ego, and going to this place of surrender of like, oh, wait a minute, why don't I just try living a more simple life for just right now, and doing things like stopping to smell the flowers and just finding joy in the little things, just watching a squirrel or um and it was like a relief to feel like, oh, wait a minute, I'm overcomplicating this. And I also came to recognize that we're going through this, and it's like we're going to go through it regardless. And it can be messy, and that's okay. And it can be difficult, and that's okay. And it's more about how can we make it the easiest on ourselves. It's not about whether or not we're messing up or doing it right or wrong. It's about how can we make it as easy on ourselves as possible, and coming up with the tools to help with that, and coming together to find support to help with that, and kind of releasing that judgment. And so just sharing some things that I've found helpful. Also, recently I started going to acupuncture, and I've done that a few times. And when I've kind of felt like some agitation coming up or difficulty sleeping, I'll go in for acupuncture, and have found that incredibly helpful. And where I live, they have a community acupuncture place where you can go, and it's a lot less expensive. It's only like $30 or $40. So just, just throwing some things out there, because boy, it really has been such a whirlwind. And there have been times where I've thought, oh no, like something's gone wrong. And it turns out that absolutely nothing had gone wrong. And that we really are held. And it's just how much are we going through our own fighting and struggling, and that we will get through it. Just keep going. So I'm incredibly grateful to have found this group. Um, it's, yeah, very meaningful to me. So, yeah, thank you all for being here.
Lori, thank you for being here with us and for sharing
Mm.
that perfectly balanced message, if you ask me. Really, thank you so much. You spoke with great,
Mm.
all-encompassing compassion and tact and empowerment. Thank you. Thank you. Anything come up for you, Hugo, as we begin to wrap here? Lori, that's a great message to begin to wind down on. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, just thank you, Laurie. Thank you for that share. What comes up for me is just the importance of community, and the importance that, even if you're feeling like that you can't hold yourself, that you know that there are others who can hold you and understand, when no one else can understand you, and family or whoever. And then we can all congregate here, and we have people who understand and who can really validate. And how grounding that was for me when I first experienced that. Someone who I could share with, and wow, and just to receive, I get you, man, and just sharing, and then this feeling of wow, you get it, and just this being able to breathe in that understanding. So yeah.
And I'll plug the KundaliniHub.com for those looking for some more opportunities like this to connect. And let's hear from Axel, and then we'll begin to wrap up here. Hey, Axel.
Yeah, hi, hello. I hope everyone's having a good day. I guess what came up for me is that everyone's been talking about how difficult the process is. And I don't disagree, and it's really difficult, and it's been really difficult for me, on a life level and on a physical level and on a, putting myself through the ringer emotionally level, and on confronting the past and all of that. But simultaneously, it has somehow been the easiest thing ever. And I don't, that's in no way meaning to kind of like trivialize what I've what anyone, like it's a paradox. And, I guess just for me, I've recently just had some experiences that have shown me, I think, that transformation can actually be, a very gentle thing. Like a lot of the time, we have these very dramatic experiences, and they might even be positive, right? And we say, oh, bliss, unity, harmony, euphoria, overwhelming love. And one thing I've been reflecting on is that I'm kind of cautious of that kind of terminology because when I was hearing that kind of terminology, and still when I do, I find it really scary. I'm like, I don't know if I want to like experience overwhelming endless bliss. I think a lot of this process, I think the spirit that's guiding us, if you will, is not, I mean, sure, it can be overwhelming, but it is fundamentally a very gentle and nurturing spirit. And I think that it's important to remember that, and it's important to, I guess, to have that paradox in mind that, like, yes, the process is incredibly brutal and incredibly difficult, um, but it's very warm as well, I think. And it's gentle at the same time. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Love that. I love that. Thank you, Axel. Can you relate, Hugo, before we wrap here?
Oh, I get it. I get that. For me, it's just for me, it's the point where I came to that realization for myself to step into that gentleness. But I knew that before then there was the turbulence, so I couldn't run away from the turbulence. But then when the turbulence sort of started to, I guess, yeah, when this turbulence sort of faded away, then I could start hearing the captain speaking, um, you know, and there's more clarity, I guess. But no, it is easier because I guess for now, I feel like there's coming from doing to actually being, and at the moment, I'm just stepping into a lot of flow, and it is easy. It really is easy. I just had to I guess it was just had to drop all the ideas about anything and what all this is about, and just allow to be, for that inspiration to come through, the drive to come through. I was just in the way of that. So that is easy. It's just coming to that realization, which can be difficult. Yeah.
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 Brutal process, difficult process, absolutely. But we're built for this. We're wired for this. It's not something foreign to our system. So therefore, like Axel was saying, can be easy in that regard. Yeah. Catherine shares here, before this call started, I felt like I was going to explode with agitation and despair. And now I feel a great peace in my whole body. Thank you, friends. Thank you so much for sharing, Catherine. I hope others out there can feel a deep peace and the community here together. And maybe you don't, and that's okay too. That's okay too. Thank you all so much for sharing so openly today, supporting one another, for your vulnerability, relating, speaking up for the parts of you that feel like they need a voice as well. It's all welcome here. It's all welcome here. Special thank you to Hugo for sharing, kicking our conversation off today, for starting a new place for people to connect. Once again, the KundaliniHub.com. You can head over there to get on the email lists and whatnot, and register and get in touch, and know that there's another space where you can join to share and connect and to let others know that they're not alone. Thank you all so much for all of your support, your donations, your engagement online. Bunch of links to a bunch of things in the description. Check it all out. For those listening in the recording, much love, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you, Brent. Just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for your support, Brent. I really appreciate that, man. So yeah, feeling the
So
love. And
welcome.
thanks everyone. It just brings me great joy. And we're bringing all these communities together, because we're all in this together. And the world is not such a big place. We're all connected. So it's just lovely.
Yeah. Oh, you're so
Yeah.
welcome. You're so welcome. Yeah. Thank you. And just before we go, I just want to share, I'm all about collaboration. And anytime I see somebody, doing some good work relating to the things that I'm interested in. Of course, Kundalini and whatnot. I'm here to support and do what I can. And so, keep that in mind. If something comes up for you in your life, if you're sparked to create something, to offer something of support and whatnot, if there's a way that I can support you in doing so, I'm here for that. Much love, everyone. Take care. Thank you all so much. And I see you all in the chat. I see all of your love in the chat.